Good evening. It's the Panhandle Prepper here. Just grape juice in a mason jar, wide mouth. Just wanted to give you a quick little video here tonight. And as I sit here by my little grill, I had a little incident happening in the house. My stove went out, it blew up. I was trying to do a bunch of canning all at once. Had all kinds of heavy pots on the stove, and all the I guess something happened and it fried the motherboard in the oven, in the stove, and it's shot. So there you have it, no stove in the house, and had all kinds of things going on that needed to cook. So what am I trying to say? I'm trying to say that you should have a backup system, a backup to your backup, and even a backup to that. So while I was out, I picked up an extra bag of charcoal so that I didn't tap into my reserves. I already have several bags put up that I'm not touching. Not that that's a long-term prep, that's just something to help you out in the beginning, maybe as you're trying to transition to some more of the old path kind of a ways. So anyway, I realized that the canning on my stove, the amount of canning and the weight and the heat of the canning that I'm doing is just not going to work on my stove. And since I blew up a $400 stove, I figured I better come up with some good alternatives. So as I was reading through some of my, I have stacks and stacks of magazines to get information from, Backwoods Home, The Backwoodsman, and some others as well. And a lot of people are using turkey fryers for the canning. So I went out and got me a turkey fryer. Haven't used it yet, just the burner part anyway for canning. That's a great idea, and I'll show you what I mean real quick by that. And here is there's the box. I went out and bought that baby there, and we're going to go ahead and set that up for canning. That way you can go ahead and stick your canner right on top of that with your gas, your propane, and you can have two canners ready at once. Those are so cheap, you can buy two of those and get a big old bottle, maybe a splitter, or two small bottles, and you can get quite the canning operation going. And it's off grid, it's propane, and yes, propane will wear out, but it's a good backup system. The propane will wear out, and the old charcoal will also wear out, but they're backups. And of course we have wood, and we have plenty of wood laying around. So you should have some backups, excuse me, and you should have some short-term backup versus the long-term backup. Of course, the short-term backup being propane, being charcoal. The long-term is your wood. So, give an example of what I try to do is I've got several short-term backups, but I also am working on some long-term backups. Now, if I don't mess the camera up, I just want to spin it around, and I'm going to show you something here. Do the best of my ability here. There we go. And what we have over there, near the front of my property, is just a big old pile of wood. And you got some serious splitting to do there, but that wood's been sitting there about a year. And that's the old path there, buddy. Splitting that wood up, building you a fire pit, and cooking, canning over an open heat with wood. That's a long-term renewable source there. That's not a short-term backup. That's your long-term renewable source. And that's my goal. Is one of these days I'll be out here drinking my grape juice, and I'll be showing you my fire pit that I built and how to can over an open fire. That is what I want to get to. But for now, as I back this thing back up, for now, we have got, sorry about the old vertigo there. For now, fix the old zoom. For now, we've got some backups, and the backups have backups. So, the important part of prepping is having some good backups. And of course, again, realizing that some backups are not permanent. Some backups are not a renewable source, such as charcoal and propane. It's kind of funny, I was listening to the Southern Preppers radio station, which is a good station. You know, he's got a lot of good stuff, and I'm not knocking anything by any means, but he had a guy on the other day that had a big old group, and They had some minimum requirements, initiation requirements, and they were talking about everybody having come into the group and joining with, other things, and not to mention some propane. About 100 gallons, which is required. Now, the 100 gallons will last not real long. You know how fast you're going to go through 100 gallons of propane when you're heating it and you're using it for sanitation, using it for cooking, using it for cleaning. You're going to burn right through that stuff. So that's a good backup short plant. Smoke hit me. It's not a long-term renewable source. So think about your long-term renewable source, such as wood. You need wood. There's no way around it. You need to learn how to cook with wood and how to burn wood. Maybe make a gasifier. Beyond my scope right now, but you never know. So remember to think about those things. Are my backups a long-term renewable source, or are they just a temporary solution to my immediate problems? Think about that. You must be working towards a long-term renewable source that you have plenty of. You don't have plenty of propane and charcoal. You're going to run out quick. So instead of buying all this money and buying all this equipment that costs money that's powered by propane and powered by charcoal, it's going to run out, and you're going to be left with a bunch of pile of junk when long-term problems happen. So think about that. Another thought that I wanted to bring up here for this video, is a way to save time with prepping, a busy lifestyle, something to help you out. Think about, now again, this is not long term, but this is a short term, and as long as we have electricity, as long as things are going well, there's no problems, everything's great. So part of the country lifestyle is saving time, because the busy world we live in, we don't have the time like they did in the old days. Small businesses are pretty much fading away, and they're gone by now, and all you've got is big businesses and mom and dad working around the clock and everything else. So it's terrible. But what I'm trying to say is that food prep, when you are cooking a meal, let's say you're cutting some onions, 2 onions for a pot of meat, let's say. Cut up 4 onions, dice them up really good, and stick 2 onions diced up in 2 separate bags, stick them in the freezer. They're good to go. Do the same thing with your potatoes. So now you have 2 small bags of potatoes, 2 small bags of onions in your freezer, diced up, ready to go in your door. Easy to view in a little panel there. Maybe do the same thing with peppers, carrots, all your leftover vegetables from dinner that you didn't eat, freeze them. And what you're going to do with that stuff, you're going to use it for soups, some stocks. You're going to use it for quick meal plans, for your canned meat, with your chicken broths. You're just going to throw them together with some rice, heat them up, and there's a good, quick, easy, nutritious meal that's on your pantry. So think about that. All your other skins, like from your onions, maybe leftover peppers, maybe just whatever you might have that's left over that's edible, that's even stuff that's not quite edible, like your skins on your onions. Throw them all in a bag, ends of carrots and celery and things like that. Put them all in a bag, maybe the net, those net bags that you get from the supermarket that holds all the garlic or the onion. Save all that stuff and stick it in your freezer. And what I'm trying to get at is that you can go ahead and put all that stuff together in that netted bag and stick it in a crock pot with a carcass, rabbit, chicken, whatever, bones, beef bones, whatever, and lightly turn it on, light heat on low heat, and let it simmer all night long as you're sleeping. Maybe plugged into a GFCI or something to play it safe, and you'll be good to go. While you're sleeping, you're also accomplishing some broth. And then in the morning, you pull out the crock pot and sit on a counter on a towel, let it cool off for a few minutes as you're shaving, showering, whatever, what have you. Throw it in the refrigerator on a towel, let it sit over it all day long while you're working, whatever, come home, skim off the fat, put it back in the refrigerator. It could last two days that way, easy, and get ready to do some canning or freezing. Save all your yogurt containers and freeze this stuff. I've got about 12 quarts of frozen yogurt container full of frozen broth, because when my oven went out, I had a full batch of canning to do, and the oven died instantly. So I froze it. Again, not a long-term renewable source, but a temporary backup that works great as long as everything is going well in America. So Alright, so let's take a look at this barbecue thing, huh? We'll take a break from the prepping and let's take a look at this. Here's the chicken that would have been in the oven, but check this out. Let me show you this. Maybe I'll post this recipe. You got to see this thing. So here it is. Oh, again, let me talk about this. Let me show you this thing first. Wow, look at that thing. That is one nice looking bird. And that thing is from my flock out back. Your onions in there. Notice I've got a stovepipe thermometer. It says about 350. And this thing's been cooking now for hours. Oh, while I have it open, let me throw in my potatoes real quick. Forgot to throw those potatoes in. And then I'm going to eat me a piece of that bacon that I've got over there. Throw those potatoes in there. So, there you have it. And notice all the smoke that I had there. I didn't have wood chips. I didn't go out and buy me wood chips. What I did was I went to the old pile of oak and pecan wood that I have spread out on the property for kindling, and there it is. I broke it all up, right? Nice dry stuff, cut up the big chunks, and stuck it in this bucket here. And what I did was I just soaked it, just like you would wood chips. This is all pecan wood. Look at this stuff. It's amazing. Look at this, pecan wood. It's wet, just big sticks of dried pecan wood and oak, all broke together. You take a big hunk of this and you throw it on the grill, and it will smoke and smoke and smoke for hours. You can't get that kind of smoke. It's still smoking. It's been smoking for hours and hours and hours. Just a light smoke. And that smoke tastes delicious. It's not too bitter because the pecan wood is nice and light. It's not real bitter. It's not like a heavy-duty mesquite, where if you throw a bunch of mesquite wood in there, you are going to have some real bitter tasting meat if you're not careful. So, learning how to do all this stuff is a lot of fun. And of course, learning how to do this on a long-term renewable source like wood is my next goal. Hopefully, Lord willing, I'll have me a fire pit built out here by the end of this winter. And we'll be cooking and canning over open flames. And we'll try to go from there. So, there you have it. I should give you this recipe. It's just tremendous. And maybe what I'll try to do is find a way to put a link up or post it or something. I mean, this recipe is just fantastic. It's a Cajun style injector all over the turkey, the chicken. I did pork loin today, chicken, potatoes, hot dogs, and that way I have, and I could freeze this stuff too, and that way I have, I could have a week worth of food that I did for $8. And I've still got plenty of charcoal left, and I can cook another meal. So it probably took me like $3-4 in charcoal to cook almost a week's worth of food. You can freeze it and set it aside, slice it for sandwiches and freeze it. And then you can, there's the pork loin, and then you can let it kind of thaw out a little bit, whatever, and you'll be good to go. Chop it up, dice it all up and freeze it, and then make a stew out of it later on. I mean, it's real easy to not let anything go to waste, and to stretch your budget out, stretch your food out. So, I think I've covered about everything today that I wanted to say to you, so God bless, and thanks for watching. We'll see you soon. Bye.